Ladies and gents, welcome back to Talk Scottish Football Live. After a week of not doing any live shows, people probably thought that we'd just given up our schedule and we were just back to being lazy bastards, but we're not. We're back here doing some shows. I've got Jack and Kieran with me. Kieran, how you doing, mate?
I know, good man. After back here weekend with the Celtic, so I'm pretty buzzing, man.
I know, this has been a really good weekend for your happiness, I suppose, not having Celtic on the cards. But for Jack, I suppose you were kind of upset not having Rangers to watch at the weekend.
It was a quiet one, but I'm sure this weekend will take care of that.
I was going to say, did you have a weekend off it in preparation for next weekend?
I did indeed. I was off. So I was off last weekend, and then I was in this weekend, and I'm off this coming weekend. So I've actually scheduled it quite smartly then.
Prepared. Fantastic. So we might as well review some of the stuff of the weekend. We'll do a podcast tomorrow with myself, Dev and Ryan. But Scottish Cup semi-final weekend was an interesting one. Hibs against Dundee United on Saturday, St Johnstone against St Mirren yesterday. Hibs and St Johnstone are obviously going to be the teams in the cup final. We'll kick off with I'm just going to address this comment before we go into the cup stuff. I'll come to it, all right? I'll come to it. So yeah, Kieran, Saturday, Hibs Dundee United. We all thought that Hibs and St Johnstone, I think, were probably the favourites going into this weekend. Hibs didn't Hibs it, so yeah, they got the job done. Nisbet and Doidge with the goals, a pretty comfortable win for them.
I know, I was quite critical going into this. I did say in previous live shows that I feel like it doesn't suit Hibs being the favourite going into these games. I think they like being the underdog in that sort of situation, and obviously they've been known to Hibs it, but I know at the weekend they played quite well. I mean, I feel like the game could have been a lot more goals in that game. There was a lot of wasted chances, but obviously the two goals they took were brilliant, I thought, both just outside the box.
Yeah, the first goal from Nisbet was an absolute cracker, to be fair. Obviously, I've bigged him up something rotten for the past 18 months, and just a really good cam finish from the edge of the box. And the second goal, hint of offside for the second goal, but again, the build-up was absolutely lovely. Boyle, Nisbet and Doidge. And Jack, when those three are on it, Hibs are as good a side as any going forward in the league.
100%. I feel like you said, I don't think there's any surprises for the two that went into the final. But Hibs like a Hibs that moment, but to my dismay, they haven't. So I think it's quite disheartening to feel like, how long was it, like 102 years before they'd won it?
116 was it not? Something mental like that.
Yeah. And they're going to win it again before us. So yeah, that's quite a badging. But you can't really fault how they've been.
It's a tough one. I mean, it's mental to think that growing up, it was such a thing that Hibs didn't win the Scottish Cup, and now they've got the chance to win it twice in 5 years, which is absolutely mental. Kieran, we've said a lot about Dundee United over the course of the season. Really, they're so up and down. And I don't really know how to assess their season because obviously, they're straight up from the Championship. They've consolidated, got into a cup semi-final, but you kind of feel like there's more. There should have been more from them this season.
I know it feels lackluster, but I mean at the same time, they've just came up. They sort of get a free hit as long as they're not dragged into a proper relegation battle. You could kind of look at that as a somewhat success, but I feel like the fans of Dundee United would maybe trying to think a bit higher of their team than what is actually. It's been really mediocre. I mean, I know you can look at a cup semi-final, but people don't remember the teams that go to the cup semi-finals. So
yeah, it's an interesting one. I think we've talked a lot about Lawrence Shankland. They rely on him a lot. He's not really, set the head of the light this season, Jack, the way that Kevin Nisbet has. Obviously, we'll do a lot of Scotland content coming up, but I mean, another goal for Nisbet, a big game. He'll be more or less confident now that he'll get the Scotland squad, I would have thought.
100%. I don't know how you can look at his performances this season and not take him with Scotland. Considering we're not really strong in that position, it's not as if we've got 5 or 6 really strong options. We've got a couple that are all right. So the fact that we've got somebody firing in all cylinders in the top league of Scotland, it defies belief he's not been called up yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that you're right with the 26-man squad especially. He'll probably feel like he'll be going now. Cycle Candy asks a really interesting question here. Do you think Dundee United would have been better under Robbie Neilson now? Kieran, if you asked Hearts fans, they would probably say no because they think Robbie Neilson is, as Ryan says, Robbie Neilson is poo. But the lack of it's very rare that a team comes up and gets promoted and doesn't stick with the same manager, Kieran. I think we maybe forget a little bit. They had a change of manager in the summer. How do you think Robbie Neilson would have done a bit better with this side?
I don't think so, no. I don't think, as I said, I felt like it was a bit of a free hit in terms of, personally, I didn't think they're going to go and set the world alight. But I didn't they've done well to avoid a relegation scrap, but their squad was too good for that anyway. I think with players like Shankland and even like Robson that at left back. There's some good players in there, and it's just, as you said, but it's been hot and cold all season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Robbie Nielsen, it's an interesting one bringing him up in this topic conversation, because next season when Hearts come up, Jack, you look at Hearts and immediately you think, right, top six, it's Hearts. And the same way we kind of did that with Dundee United, I think. You look at Dundee United and you think, right, they should be pushing for top six, and sometimes they're going to maybe fancy a bit of patience with teams that come up, regardless of their stature, that, it's going to take a little bit of time.
I think it's a hard one to say with Dundee United, because I feel like Dundee United performed exactly the way I expected them to this season, and they didn't really blow anybody away, but they weren't really scaring like for the relegation. So I feel like Hearts are a bigger team than Dundee United. I think we can all agree on that. So I think coming up, I'd maybe expect Hearts to do better, but I wouldn't be surprised if they like kind of frittered in the top, like the edge of the top six.
Yeah, Mickey Mellon's taking a lot of plaudits this season, Kieran. Are you a fan of Mellon's? I have to say, it was Spunkford's comment that got me there when the Leaf hands you melons, and it just there was a bit of an open goal. They had Frank McAvenny talking about melons, which I just thought was just typical McAvenny. But yeah, what we got here, Ryan McGinley with a comment. This is something I also want to bring up, because you boys might not have noticed this, but before we start recording, Queen's Park have announced that Ray McKinnon has left Queen's Park after winning League Two with them, which is a bit bizarre. No real reason why as of yet. McGinley saying John Kennedy would be interested in that job. Kieran, any thoughts on that?
I mean, I know it's a step into management, but if he wants it, go for it. I don't care. But in terms of, I think he would maybe want to aim a wee bit higher, like for his first step into the managerial game. But I really couldn't care less.
I love that honesty we get from you as per usual. The thing is with Queen's Park though, Jack, you always think Queen's Park is just permanently going to be down in League Two, but they've invested a wee bit this season. They seem to be going places similar to what Cove have. So maybe for someone like John Kennedy, that could be a decent job.
I mean, it only took them 100 years to start paying players, so I mean they're going to go upwards when they start paying players. But I feel like John Kennedy will be looking to be involved in Celtic somehow. If not, I don't see him going to Queen's Park. If he did, fair play. Like he's got a wee bit of experience managing one of the biggest teams in the country, so that can only be good for them, but I don't see him being interested in that.
Again, I think a lot of people, Leanne Dempster's obviously there at Queen's Park as director of football now. He did a wonderful job at Hibs and got that job. That's a sign of where they're going. But we'll come back to Queen's Park. We might as well wrap up with the Scottish Cup games at the weekend. The Battle of the Saints yesterday on Sunday. So one thing I noticed, Kieran, looking at Twitter, was that St Mirren referred to St Johnstone as the Fakes, and it took me ages to work out that it was like they're the fake Saints. I didn't realise that was a thing. But St Johnstone are on course for the most unlikely of cup doubles. What a job Callum Davidson's doing.
I know it's nuts, because at the start of the season, I was a bit wary about his appointment. But I mean, he's went out and proved everybody wrong. He's got top six when he wasn't even expected to get it. Did snatch it away for St Mirren in the end up. And now to get him to a second cup final, even if he doesn't win it, it doesn't matter. It's been a phenomenal season. But I don't know, I feel like what we were talking about earlier with the whole Hibs being the favourites. Now, I don't know if they should be the favourites, but I don't think it's going to be as clear cut as like making one dead favourite for this game. I think it's going to be a pretty even game. Yeah,
I completely agree. I think that what St Johnstone have done this season has done enough to counteract that sort of natural thing of going Hibs are the bigger team, Hibs are favourites. I think it's going to be a good cup final, Jack, because I think St Johnstone are. Well, I mean, you've seen it yourself in the quarterfinal. They've got the capability to win these big games, but also Hibs on their day, as we talked about, can be good to watch. But I mean, were you surprised to see St Johnstone go through that semi-final?
I was wondering how long it would take for you to bring that up. So
to be honest, it actually went out of my mind until I saw St Johnstone tweeted today that they didn't need a dubious goal panel for Chris Kane's goal yesterday. So that was very much his goal.
To be honest, I hope they win it, because that's a cracking story, and it's a cup double, and you weren't even expecting to win anything. So it'd be good to see that. Obviously, I'm not Hibs' biggest fan, so it'd be good. It'd be a double nice one for me. But it's one of the ones where they debated the whole manager thing, like you were saying, like manager of the season. Like he's obviously a big contender if he goes and does the double. It's one of those ones you need to wait and see. It'll be a lot better than the League Cup final. I've put money on that. That was a bit of a snooze fest, but it'll be action packed, I think.
Yeah, that was a shocking cup final. One thing I realised yesterday is that I've completely forgot what I was going to say. What was I going to say there? I completely forgot. This is because this comment from McGinley has distracted me. Would you rather fight a giraffe-sized Eddie Howe or an Eddie Howe-sized giraffe?
Eddie Howe-sized giraffe.
Eddie Howe, yeah, surely. Surely. So yeah, you made a good point here about Callum Davidson. The voting for the manager of the season took place before that match. Now, I don't know. I think that it's definitely now Gerrard or Callum Davidson. There's no doubt about that. But even if Callum Davidson doesn't win the cup, Kieran, surely for St Johnstone to finish in the top 6, win a cup and reach a cup final, that's more of an overachievement than Rangers winning just the league.
Now, even if he doesn't get it properly, he'll be the people's champion, you know. But
what people?
No, I do think he does. Like, in terms of overachievement, that's exactly what it is. I mean, obviously, you could say Rangers weren't expected to win the league or whatever, but it was always going to be neck and neck, or they've went and ran away with it, which is a massive achievement. They could go unbeaten, but I mean, I don't know. When you think it that way, if you think an unbeaten season, it is kind of hard to try and take it away from the manager that's achieved that. But at the same time, you can't stress enough how much an overachievement it's been for St Johnstone to go and do what they've done.
I'm absolutely buzzing because I predicted that St Johnstone would do the double before they played Rangers, so now I'm just praying to God they do it. Edward Boyle asked a good question here. No, sadly not. All these things that I predict to end up doing well, I never put the money on, but when I actually put money in a bet, fucking no chance. Anyway, Edward Boyle says, do we think St Johnstone have a mental advantage of beating Hibs just over a week ago, and also, Jack, beating Hibs in the Betfred Cup semi-final? Will that have an impact on how maybe Jack Ross sets up, knowing that, in 2 games so far, St Johnstone have had the better of them?
I think when you go into a league game, it's a lot different for a cup final. I think you go into a cup final guns blazing. I think you go for it no matter what the opponent is. So Hibs, I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing. Hibs will be the strongest thing they'll have, because they might have been a bit different with a league game. I don't know how. I didn't watch the game. I don't know how to set up or anything like that. But they're going to go for it in the cup final, and that's one thing St Johnstone are going to need to be able to handle and counter attack, or vice versa. Blah blah blah. But I'm predicting that St Johnstone are going to win it. I'm not going to lie. I feel like on the big game occasions this season, they've been able to pull it out of the bag. So good luck to them.
I just think that there's defensively so solid, and we talked about Nisbet there, Kieran, in terms of Scotland call-up. Every time I watch Sean Rooney play, I just think he's surely in with a shout. Surely.
I know as we get to the tail end of the season, he's put in consistently good performances. It's kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't go as far to say he's a defo shout, but I mean, when you see him playing well, and as you said, I don't know if it's just because we're watching him in these games and it's no week in, week out, that's why we're thinking it, but I don't know. I mean, if there's a space available and we need somebody there, then I wouldn't grudge it, put it that way.
I think it's just because it's one of those. It's probably the one position in the squad where we're really struggling for. The fact that Stephen O'Donnell is nailed on to start tells you everything, really. I mean, I look at what Rooney he gives you as well, and it's like, see, when you think of a right wing back, you think somebody who's going to run down the line and bomb forward. But Rooney, there was a point in the first half in that game, he cuts inside and he bends over the left peg and almost finds the top corner. He's scored goals in big games before. He's a big physical lad, and he's used to playing actually as a wing back, which is interesting. I know Kieran makes a good point. I don't think he's nailed on to go, but he's definitely in the conversation now, Jack.
100%. I mean, when you're playing that well in cup finals in Scotland, you can't really take his name out of the equation. I think if he plays well in this cup final, and maybe even when it gets the winner or something like that, then you can't. It's one of those ones where he writes his name in the book himself. So it's only one of the ones where it's up to Steve Clarke. We can't really. I don't know how good his judgment is, to be honest with you. But if he played for Kilmarnock, he'd be there. Let's face it.
Absolutely. Another interesting thing just come to my head as we're talking about that. We'll come on to that in a minute. But McGinley makes a good comment here. Don Mackay and Peter Lawwell to be lurking in the showers after the game to sign up the winning Scottish Cup manager. I'm not sure social distancing and whether they both get in. But
lurking is a cracking word there.
It is absolutely. This is weird because this is the first show we've done in a while where the Eddie Howe talk is kind of like the last couple of days. I think the tail end of last week it was very much, it's done. But now it's like it's subsided a wee bit again. Kieran, are you getting nervous at all?
I'm just numb to it at this point, man. I've went through the emotions of this whole Eddie Howe thing for weeks now. So when I'm seeing people on Twitter coming out saying, it's dead certain it's happening, I don't believe them. I've said to Ryan that I won't believe it until I've seen a photo of Eddie Howe standing on the Celtic way with a scarf above his head. It's gone on for too long, and you're at the point where you feel we've got to get him. It's surely a matter of when, but I don't know. We're getting very close to the end of the season now, and for there still to be, I mean, I know there was communication for the club in the form of an email that didn't even put it on social media for people to see. But I mean, it was. You're kind of glad they're finally trying to get in contact with people, but at the same time, it's really not an awful lot that's been said. It's just trying to keep people happy.
Yeah, it's wild. Speaking of people who think that it's done, Ryan Mulmoney is very much convinced that this is done, and it has been done for a while, according to him. Conor McGregor, Jack, did you see that last night? Conor McGregor talking about how he is. He tweeted last night that he had. What was it, Kieran? He'd had conversations with Dermot Desmond or something about buying shares in Celtic, something bonkers like that.
When I woke up and seen that, I was like, what is even going on with this club now that Conor McGregor's now trying to get himself in on it, man?
You look at the fucking manager's job.
I know. I don't know. Like, it's surely a nothing story. Like, there's nothing in it. It's just paper talk, man. But that would be a fucking disaster, man. Just him strutting about at half time, coming out to do the Paradise windfall.
That's exactly it. You get the proper 12 on the shirt. Him strutting in the Celtic way pre-match. It would just be entertaining. Conor McGregor with Roy Keane as manager would be fucking hilarious. But yeah, does Conor McGregor know the City though? That's the big question. Anyway, moving on from that, quickly off the two of you, because we'll cover this in the podcast tomorrow. Cup final predictions. Jack, you're going to go with St Johnstone, are you?
St Johnstone 2-1.
Yeah, Kieran.
I do fancy St Johnstone, but I just don't know if it's the whole thing. Like, everybody's just sort of piling the pressure on them now because they've got to the next final. I'll go with Hibs 2-1.
Nice.
Just a bit different.
Speaking of Scotland internationals, and a wee bit of signing news last week, Declan Gallagher signed a pre-contract with Aberdeen from Motherwell. I think it was a 2-year deal he signed. I'm guessing, I'll come to you first, Kieran, because I'm guessing you'll be relieved that he's not going to Celtic.
Why? Definitely.
Yeah.
Honestly, when there was so much talk about that back in January, that's when I was getting fearful, because we needed the centre half in that, and when you're getting his name thrown about, you're like, he might be a Scotland international, but he's not a Scotland international at what complete merit. He's all right, but we're just very, very. We've not got a lot of depth in that position, basically, and I feel like Aberdeen would be the perfect step from him, and Griff is hopefully following up with Scott Brown, man, get the wee gang together.
Absolutely, you can imagine them put team nights out. That'll be class. Jack, I think it was Declan Gallagher. You've seen him for Scotland a few times, and the game against Serbia was fantastic. He was really, really good that night. But this season, somebody said this to me on Saturday. Actually, they watched him for Motherwell this season, and he looks very much like a Motherwell player. Aberdeen, for me, is probably about as good a move as he could have got realistically.
I was quite surprised when I seen it, to be honest. Well, I knew they would link with Celtic a while back, and even I laughed at that. I knew that was never going to happen. But I kind of hoped it would happen, because I would have loved that, Kent against them. But going to Aberdeen is probably like a good move for him. I don't see him going any higher than that. Going from Motherwell to Aberdeen's like, how big a jump can you even call that? Like,
I don't know. I think Aberdeen are quite a bit bigger a club than Motherwell, if I'm honest.
They're a bigger club, but I mean, in terms of like achievement, you look back at last season, like the fight for third place and that, but obviously Motherwell fell off a cliff back then. But I don't know. There's always such turnaround, but with Motherwell, it's like their best players, and they always end up having a complete turnaround there every other summer. So it's just anytime they've got a player that's playing decent, he's off skate anyway. But I feel like Aberdeen, as Jack said, that's probably the biggest sort of move he was getting.
Yeah, I think that they're both interesting situations in that, and it's something that is going to happen a lot next season. I think that the battle for the top 6 next season is going to be just unbelievable. I've no idea. There's so many teams that could get there that are on an upward trajectory. And Motherwell and Aberdeen, don't even fucking start. Motherwell and Aberdeen both the new managers at the helm who've come in just now, and there's been signs of positivity from Graham Alexander and from Stephen Glass, Jack. But next season, Stephen Glass is going to have to make a right good fist of it next year, because there was a lot of raised eyebrows at that appointment. I think his signings so far have been good, but they really need to hit the ground running pretty quickly.
It's one of those ones where you look at, like, they're expecting to finish third every season, so the fact that it was even a question was like a bad thing for Aberdeen in general. The fact they're only like. This season, they were good in terms of, like, what was the record at home was a lot better than away. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, they don't score goals anywhere, so
that's what I mean. Like by the tail end of the season, if you're not scoring any goals, like in general, never mind away at home, whatever, you're never going to go anywhere. So the fact that he's getting positive signings, as much as Aberdeen, that's like he could fit into that team quite well. We never know. I mean, when you play an Old Firm team as well, especially with like Ryan Kent, who I don't know who's going to be playing on the left for Celtic. You're going to get fun out whoever you play for. So we'll need to wait and see how it gets going. But
it's going to be an interesting one. I think a big thing for Aberdeen, Kieran, is they need to start doing better against the big two, because that is the biggest frustration among Aberdeen fans is against Celtic and Rangers, they absolutely shit the bed. They sit in, they try not to get beat, and they just get beat. So, I think we've said it a lot with Derek McInnes left. Aberdeen have had it good for the last 10 years under McInnes. Well, not quite 10, but they've had it really good. The thing that they want is entertaining football and a better fist against the big two. Do you think that certainly the signings he's made so far and what you've seen from Aberdeen since he came in suggest they're going to have a chance of doing that?
In terms of the signings he's made, I think they're taking a step in the right direction to try and put up a fight against Celtic and Rangers even when they go up to Pittodrie. I'm saying, gone to Celtic Park and Ibrox. I mean, I know they've got results there in the past few years, very few and far between. But I mean, they still have managed to get results because they beat us on title day. I think it was 2018 or whatever. They beat Rangers the season they came up and all that. Just different times at that. And that's obviously what Aberdeen fans want to see more of. I think with signings like Scott Brown, I feel it will help them in terms of playing the bigger teams, but I still feel they're going to need a prolific striker in that squad because that's something they're severely lacking, and they've tried to replace Adam Rooney's goals for years now. You had Cosgrove, and then he wasn't even playing that well before he got his move this season, so it's just been a complete drought up there.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Jack, if you're Stephen Glass and you're needing goals, would you not just go out and try and sign Lawrence Shankland?
I think that's the kind of same kind of trajectory as well. Even Shankland was linked to us a couple of times, but I wouldn't say he's built kind of level yet when considering how strong we are up there. So I think that'd be a cracking appointment for him. I think that'd be a good step up. If he went to Aberdeen and proved himself there, why no? Question an old firm team later in his career. But as of right now, I think that'd be a cracking signing for them.
Yeah, I'm going to move on to something Ryan mentioned earlier here. Thoughts on Alan McCoy's column today saying Steve Clarke should be phoning Alan McGregor for the Euros. Now, I don't think anybody here is going to disagree that Alan McGregor, if he was still eligible for Scotland, would be Scotland's number one. He'd probably be playing. But we do have in Marshall and Gordon two very good goalkeepers, Kieran. Do you think that's something that Steve Clarke should be doing?
I mean, after the season that McGregor's had, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'm not a massive advocate for going and get him out of retirement for Scotland and get him in the starting lineup. I personally think Gordon probably could do a job for us, but I mean, it's hard to try and argue against it after the season McGregor's had because he's played out his skin. And I mean, what age is he now? About 39 or something? Mm-hmm. For somebody to put in that many good performances at that age, I know he's a goalkeeper and they can play later, but even at that, it's ridiculous how well he's played, especially against us this season. And I've not been too happy about that, but I think he'd be a shout. I wouldn't mind it.
It's a tough one because Jack, he's obviously the best Scottish goalkeeper, but the thing is, it's not like we're really struggling in that position. Marshall and Gordon are both very good goalkeepers. It's a mindset thing. I think if Steve Clarke's thinking, right, we need to win these games at all costs, then you probably do lift the phone. But again, there's a kind of thing where it's like a principle. If somebody said they're not playing for the country, I mean, is that not just their choice and you let them live with it?
I feel like the issue here isn't he? I think even if you asked him, he's a big stubborn, angry bastard. I love him to bits, obviously, but he's not going to say aye. Even if Steve Clarke phoned him, he's not going to say aye. He's made up his mind, and you see how stubborn he is and how to the point. He saves against Griffith save, and he's claiming he didn't even save it. That's the kind of guy he is. He's not going to key up his own opinion. So I feel like even if Steve Clarke picked up the phone, and the fact that if he even asked, we don't really, as much as he is the best keeper, we're all right keeper wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Another wee bit of Scotland stuff I want to bring up because the man played 90 minutes on Saturday, or was it Sunday, for Chelsea in the middle of the park in a win at the Etihad. Billy Gilmour started 90 minutes. 26-man squad now, Kieran. Is he on with a shout?
I mean, if there's space in the squad and as long as he's not getting in just ahead of Turnbull, then I'd take him. But in terms of, he's not had consistent playing time this season, but if he's proving it near the tail end, then why not just bring him along? Because, I mean, there's no guarantee everybody that's got to be gone's got to get game time. It's just more for reassurance. I think in that midfield area, we're obviously strong as a country. We've got plenty of good players in there, but it never hurts to have somebody like, obviously Gilmour has quality, so it doesn't hurt to have somebody like him in there.
My thing with this is, Jack, and it's a principal thing I've got, because it's always annoyed me for years how Scotland have approached young players and not giving them the chance. Steve Clarke's pretty much said that the 3 extra spots are going to be there, they're not going to play. He's pretty much said that as well. He's already picked his 23 in his head pretty much. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that the likes of Billy Gilmour, David Turnbull, Nathan Patterson are going to play for Scotland in the future, without a doubt. That's going to happen. Surely we are better taking a Billy Gilmour in this squad than we are taking a John Fleck, who's also not going to play and also not going to benefit Scotland much in the future.
100%. I mean, if you're playing at the Etihad and playing well at the Etihad and getting a victory, how can you even argue that? Like, even if he's not going to play, the fact that he's going to be there as an option in like the worst case scenario, that's a cracking option.
Mm-hmm. I know, I agree. I think that the thing that gets me, I know people say that he hasn't played an awful lot, and I get that. And but I just look at Scotland's midfield options, and I don't think he was amazing against City, but he more than held his own in there, and a team that won at the Etihad against arguably the best team in Europe just now. This is what we're talking about here. But people are suggesting he's not good enough to play for Scotland. I just find utterly bizarre. Gaz is saying Gilmour over Fleck any day. Struckwood saying everyone got their tail booked for Firewater. Kieran, you got the Firewater. Boys have got it booked, have they not?
Aye, we've got a table booked for, I think it's next Saturday or something. So.
Oh, that's it. Everyone's going to turn up now. Everyone's going to turn up.
We're that famous.
Well, it depends on Mr. 118's going. Jack, are you a Firewater frequenter?
No. I went on a couple of Thursdays, but you can't even move it anywhere, can you?
Well, yeah, maybe not.
I would go now if it was I would go anywhere now.
After Monday, we can sit inside, can't we, in a pub? So it's a week to go, and then the real stuff starts.
I'd go anywhere if I can get a seat. No bothered.
Right, I might as well move on to the bit that I've been not wanting to talk about. Obviously, shut up, Kieran. Stop smiling. Premiership playoffs on Saturday. Raith Rovers against Dunfermline. Wee bit of backstory for people about. So I was there covering the game, but I was way back north at home. So I left home at 6:20 in the train. It took me 5 hours to get to Glasgow, then another hour through to Edinburgh, then another hour through to Kirkcaldy. 7 hours travel in the morning to get to that game to cover it. Dunfermline had chance after chance after chance, couldn't score any fucking goals, and ended up getting beat 2-0. And I am just so done with football. I don't even want to fucking think about it, because literally over the two legs they were the better team. Over the two legs, it's mental. We had 10 really decent chances and could not score a fucking goal. I am just so numb to life now. I just don't even know what I'm going to do with myself. I'm sad that there's no football every Saturday, but also I don't want to fucking watch them again. I mean, this will happen. We'll have more of a conversation about this in tomorrow's podcast when Dev and Ryan fucking try and get a bite off me. But yeah, I can see the comments already. Just get around the lot.
Where do you go next season? But I'm pretty sure I seen you talk about it on Twitter earlier. But
I asked Conor McGregor about this on Twitter, and he never replied. I thought he might reply.
He's too busy doing Celtic talks.
Absolutely. I don't know, Kieran. That's a really good question. I think the majority of Dunfermline fans want a change in management. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that, because I don't it's one of those for me. It doesn't really help me or anyone by me going out and saying get the fucking manager out. It is what it is. People can do that. The problem is, I look at our squad, and I think that a lot of people have looked on Dunfermline this season who don't follow the Championship and said, well, that's a decent squad, by the way. They should be really challenging Hearts, and it's just not came to fruition. And the fact that Hearts have been so stinking for so long is kind of even more put the pressure on us to succeed. And it's not happened. We've got a good core of the squad still going to be there next season, but we've also got new investors, new owners coming in who are actually going to come in properly next season and kind of have a say. So it's all about whether they think that Stevie Crawford is the man to get them film promoted. It's up for them to decide. James is saying I'm protecting my commentary job. Well, first of all, it's actually not. Listen, I'll fucking say what I want to say, all right? I'm just, okay. It is what it is. I honestly wouldn't be fussed if he stayed there if he went, but I don't want to think of it just now. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
If you're the chairman, what are you doing?
If I'm the chairman, what am I doing? Put a standing section in one of the stands, probably. No, I don't know. I mean,
I'll let you hold that thought for tomorrow.
Yeah, I will. I'll hold it for tomorrow. But it is what it is. A lot of people are giving me this fucking stick now. Get around a lot of them. Right, let's move on to, obviously, Raith went through. They beat Dunfermline fine. I'm not upset. Let's move on. They play Dundee tomorrow night, or is it Wednesday night? I think it might be Wednesday night in the first leg of the playoff semi-final. Dundee, obviously, Kieran, are a side down there who, have been down there for a couple of years now, put a lot of money at it. They've got some well-known players, Charlie Adam, Jason Cummings, all the rest of it. This is kind of do or die time for Dundee. They really need to get the finger out here.
I know. I feel like, as you said, because they've put the money into it this season especially, they're going to want to try and make this the final thing at getting promoted again, because I don't know, it's so detrimental having to stay down for another season, because then you need to completely reevaluate like what you're doing, because no matter how much money you put into it, if you fall at the last hurdle, then you need to completely rethink everything you've planned for. Just goes to shit straight away. And you've seen it happen with even Dundee United. Like, for year after year, they were playing in the playoffs, and then they just kept missing it. And then they had to get rid of so many players and bring them in, change manager. It's just, they can't. I don't think Dundee can afford to have another season like that, didn't they?
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, it took Rangers 2 years, took Hibs 3, Dundee United 4, Dundee it's taken 2 so far. Like, it's mental how tough it is for these so-called bigger teams to do it. And funny enough, despite the fact Hearts fans are permanently angry these days, they're the only team in the last 10 years that's done it at the first attempt, gone back up twice under Robbie Neilson. So maybe they should all just stop moaning, and just accept the fact that they've got a winning team. Sorry, Adam. But yeah, I mean, Jack, you look at the Dundee team. I mean, Jason Cummings has started scoring at the right time. It's a bit mental that Jason Cummings is even in the Championship.
I know.
If anyone's going to fire them up, it's probably going to be him.
I mean, it was like, see, when I think about like playoffs and Jason Cummings, I just think of the hat penalty, the Panenka. So that's the only thing I get in my head. But he's like kind of laughing almost, but at the tail end of the season, like he's a post-split man, him. So if you get form at the right times, you can't really complain with that. But Dundee, I like Kieran was saying, I don't think Dundee can manage another year down there. I think they need to put everything they've got into that, because it's one of those ones when you, like, I was the exact same when Rangers didn't get up. I was in two minds. I was like, do we try again, or do we start? Do we like get everybody out and start again? Like, it's one of those ones where do you keep who you've got, who just failed that, and try again, or do you revamp and change it all? So it's a hard one to decide. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. That game, obviously 2 legs. Kieran, what are you thinking? You think Dundee are going to do it, or is this Wraith fairy tale going to continue? Because I think, actually, I said it on Twitter, I think everyone forgets they got promoted last season from League One. This is their first season in the Championship. They have a legitimate chance of going back to back here.
I know, I was just thinking about that earlier, the fact that they came up, like, whether people want to say it was wrongfully, like, because of people getting relegated and such. But, I mean, it is easy to forget that. But see, when I don't watch the Championship to the same extent as you do, because my team does not play in the Championship. But I wouldn't see. I've said that, man. Just wait till next season when we end up doing there. But no, when I have seen Wraith Rovers, but I've actually been quite impressed with it. And it is easy to forget that they did just come up last season. But I feel like Dundee will probably end up going through this tie, to be honest with you. No best of any merit or anything, just a complete stab in the dark.
And Adam just proving that Hearts fans are still bitter as anything.
Always angry, that one.
It's going to be interesting when Hearts next season in the Premiership, when they have to stop feuding with Alloa and Brecon City and actually, focus on some bigger teams. It's going to be an interesting one.
Or if Thistle and Hearts fans can stop making other wee brothers in arms flags.
It's Thistle fucking Inverness and Rar. It's just the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in my life. Jack, thoughts? Dundee going to do that?
I'd like to see Rafe just for that. That's a crank story in it, but I can't see them beating Dundee or 2 legs. It's one of those ones as well when whoever is it Kilmarnock they end up playing? Is that who we're thinking?
This is the mental thing. We'll talk about this week, but it's still tight as in. It could be Kelly, Ross County, or Hamilton. It's mental.
Because I feel like Kelly would beat either of them.
So do I.
But County, I'm not too sure with. So they'll be hoping Kelly do well in the last couple of games, and Dundee are the ones in the face because Ross County, because that's a much easier tie than Kelly than now anyway.
I would probably. I think Dundee are going to do it. I just think that they've got too much quality there. Whether or not they'll go up, I think you're right. If it's Kelly, I think Kelly will stay up, but Ross County, I really fear for. Finally, just any more questions? Just anyone who's got any questions in the chat for round things up, firing some questions really quickly. The thing I was going to say earlier when I completely forgot about the cup final was, have you noticed, Kieran, on social media, there seems to be a real group of people determined to see Hibs get beat in this cup final. There's a lot of people who seriously dislike Hibs for some reason.
I mean, Hibs are obviously strongly disliked by Hearts fans and then Rangers fans, but it's sort of the same way around, I feel, with Hibs fans hating Hearts, and it's just a pure mutual thing. But it seems like I've noticed a lot more people seem to detest Hibs than I thought they did. Yeah. I thought it was really just Rangers and Hearts fans, and obviously I don't really like Hibs either, to be fair. You've got a lot of Celtic fans that might and that try and do that horrible saying they don't mind them sort of thing. I don't like any other team in the league. I think it's weird to have a sort of affection for any other team. I think if you're going out there and you're not hating them,
especially in your own team's league or your own team's system. I think that's just utterly bizarre. But it is what it is. I mean, I think Saints are certainly, see it already in the chat, Saints are obviously the ones that people fancy. But I think that's going to wrap us up. Any final thoughts, Jack, in the mist? Obviously, you've got Trophy Day next week, so you're just counting down the days now.
I was going to say, what he's up to Saturday if I get a wee drink.
Now that I've got no Dunfermline on Saturday, I'll probably just be sitting in my room contemplating my existence. But it is what it is. That's been a standard weekend for Kieran this season with the way Celtic are playing, though.
No, just shutting the blinds, sitting in the dark.
who are Celtic even playing this weekend, Kieran? Do you know?
We're away to Hibs, and will I be paying for Hibs TV? Well, fuck. So,
well, if Irvin Welsh is on at the half-time show, that could be entertaining again. I mean, it was certainly entertaining when they played Rangers and he got himself in a bit of bother. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Podcast tomorrow, me, Ryan, and Dev. Wednesday, I think it's me, McGinley, and Adam, so we can rip Hearts a new one on that show. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching. And yeah, cheers.